the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Saloni is a BJP supporter, a fan of Narendra Modi, it is fair to say.
Yes.
What have you made of 2018 for him? We, of course, saw his trip to the UK. I was there as a journalist. You were there as a supporter at the Bharat Ki Baat Sabke Saath event.
Right,
Modi
yes.
was, of course, speaking in central London. Talk about that in a minute. Just get your reaction, because I haven't had you in the studio since these state elections, which we saw, of course. Some disappointment for the BJP in those, of course, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, those Hindi heartland states that went away from the BJP. What did you make of what happened to the BJP in those elections?
In a way, I always find preliminary elections before a general election, which is next year, tend to not favour the government in existence. We can see that through history throughout the country. Trump recently with his midterm elections. I think it's a challenging time for BJP. I think they need to learn from this. They need to pull up their socks and listen to what the public are looking for. You see, what BJP have done is do a lot of long-term strategy with some really great results in the 4 years they've been there, but people want things instantly and now, you know.
There was some feeling that they'd moved away from talking about jobs and the economy and things that people care about day to day, and some of this Hindutva agenda had taken too much precedence. Did you feel that or not?
I actually find it quite the opposite. I think they've kind of moved away from the Hindutva because they were going to build the Ram Mandir. That never happened. I think he's focusing a bit too much on economy, and people don't vote for economics. They vote for passion and emotion, as we can see with Brexit. You know, people have voted for Brexit and all the economists are saying, no, this is a cliff edge, this is a terrible thing. But when it comes to voting in the electorate, you have to speak to them emotionally.
Well, we'll disagree on that one point, because I think they vote on both, and the economy is significant. It's interesting you mentioned the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya, and of course that's such a contentious issue, and there were rallies, and certainly some of the RSS and the Hindutva right feel that they aren't being listened to, and the BJP is not committing to building this. Others feeling that actually the BJP has got too lost down that route, not speaking out against attacks on minorities, for example, and that they're almost trying to pull it back and be open to everyone again. The issue that Narendra Modi has is that he does need that vote from the right, that bank. He does need to keep them animated, but at the same time, he needs to be seen as being there for all Indians. And Congress, which has really struggled to come up with a message that connects with the people, is trying to now latch onto this "we're for everyone," and the BJP is not treating minorities well, not treating Muslims well, that message. But Narendra Modi is having to juggle both. It makes for a fascinating 2019, and as you say, we can't read too much into it, because next year's election, when Narendra Modi is on the card, will be totally different.
Just very quickly touch, Narendra Modi has addressed all of Indians. He's brought the triple talaq to protect Muslim minorities, the women, and so he is trying to care for everyone. And India itself is very divided and fragmented through languages, through castes, through states, so it's a big job for one man.
What did you make of his meeting this Bharat Ki Baat Sabke Saath? He came to the UK, of course, heads of Commonwealth meeting,
That's right.
having a meeting with Theresa May too, Britain trying to find some accord. Of course, post-Brexit, India is very important. There was that event, of course, in central London, where he spoke to his supporters, people like you, and I assume you loved it.
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't just his supporters. There were questions from around the world.
We've
I think
we've agreed.
we've had this. And so he was open to all questions at the time, and he answered them. You know, and it went longer than we expected. There was a lot to cover.
I sent about 20 questions through, so the press were invited. We were kind of up in the gods a little bit, and mainly it was the Indian broadcasters, which the only ones selected were the ones that were pretty pro-BJP, and none of the questions I'd asked were answered. And actually there weren't questions about why he doesn't do press conferences or what he actually has to say about the attacks on minorities, as we spoke about. And you gave an answer there about what the BJP has tried to do to address the issue, but you couldn't even ask him the question in the first place to get a response about there was the attack in Jammu and Kashmir, the child rape case, which included BJP officials, just his response on that.
But what he did when he came back from that London tour, he went straight to India. I don't know how he did it, because I had a full day with him. It was exhausting. And he actually introduced the death penalty for everyone that raped or murdered a child under the age of 12. And I think that's how he's addressed it.
Yes, and they wanted actually that law to go further, but it's well him doing that. But as a democracy and journalists anyway, whether we were talking about Theresa May or we're talking about Donald Trump or about Macron, whoever, you want your officials to be accountable and hold them to account, and the freedom of the press. And unfortunately, Mr. Modi doesn't want to take our questions or do press conferences. Demonetisation would have been nice to ask him about. But for his supporters, and as you say about Sabkisar, incredibly popular leader, and we saw when he came to Wembley Stadium, we've seen here too, huge support. There were protests as well, of course, counter demonstrations that took place in London, and two sides with all of this. We'll talk more, I'm sure, about India as we go into 2019 and we look at that election and what Congress can do, certainly making those inroads, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. There's still a lot of questions about what they stand for, whether people want the Gandhi name and dynastic politics again, but is Narendra Modi losing his mojo? That's another question too. So much to look to in 2019. Let's mention Imran Khan as well. A significant year for him too. Pakistan's Prime Minister, so-called playboy in the West before, who makes it to the very top and has had, I think, over 100 days in office now, invariably with mixed results. It's impossible to come out with everything that you want to do. He's decreased fuel prices by removing taxes. He's made pledges about anti-corruption. Investigations are underway in some cases. The opposition say not enough. And Nawaz Sharif, of course, sent back to jail today. That was news coming through just this afternoon. Sorry, what do you make of Imran? I mean, there's a lot of hope in Pakistan. He galvanised a lot of young support.
He did.
It's going to be tough, a challenge to deliver.
You know, he's that famous cricketer, the global playboy. So he gives people hope, and he even gives the West a hope a little bit, because we think he's more cosmopolitan, a bit more open to a different world and a different point of view. So maybe, you know, I mean, it's early days. 100 days isn't a lot in politics.
We talk about the criticism that Narendra Modi has had in India for not doing enough on the cow vigilante attacks, the Gau Rakshaks, and why he stays silent on that. For Imran Khan, there remains a challenge on the way minorities are treated in Pakistan.
Yes.
Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, all criticised in terms of the treatment they've had by independent human rights bodies. It was interesting that Imran Khan chose to give a statement where he was saying that he would show Modi's India how to treat minorities. Obviously, it's received criticism in India with people saying, right, you're going to have to get your own house in order first on that one before you start advising India on how to treat its minorities. I mean, he was talking at a set event. I mean, to be honest, when you look at the headlines, his words slightly taken out of context, but he did say that Pakistan would show India the way. He says, we have to especially show Narendra Modi's India how we treat minorities and how they treat minorities. He's got a long way to go, though, before he's able to set an example. And Saloni, I know, is agreeing with that. And we linked that really to the Asia Bibi story, and we told you about that on Insight recently. I just thought for Christmas we'd give you an update. I spoke to Wilson Chowdhury, of course, who is hugely involved with the family and this particular story from the British Pakistan Christian Association. This is Asia Bibi on your screen at the moment. She was released from a death sentence in Pakistan, and the hope was that she would be able to get asylum somewhere. Britain's been criticised, Theresa May's government, for not offering asylum. There have been other countries that have, including Canada and the Netherlands, I believe, that was in discussions. But Asia Bibi's not actually been allowed to leave Pakistan because Imran Khan has said she can't leave until an appeal is heard. And of course, the extremists in Pakistan, those that want her killed, who want the death penalty reinstated on her, say that she should not be allowed to leave. And Imran Khan at the moment, who in the early days of this case, when the Supreme Court made its verdict, did praise the Supreme Court, has since had to backtrack. And we're talking a bit with Modi too. This